Thank you for waiting. So we'd like to move on to the next session, Beyond Coronavirus Life. Mr. Iwamoto is going to moderate this session. Thank you for joining. I come from Diamond Signal. I am an editor. My name is Iwamoto. Today, I am going to be moderating this session called Beyond Coronavirus Life. We have people who are involved in medicine, information, or in life-saving products, startup companies. So we'd like to discuss about life beyond coronavirus, how to protect life as well as our own safety. So thank you for joining today. So without further ado, perhaps I can ask each one of you to introduce yourselves. I think the staff will take care of that. Mr. Kikuchi, Dr. Kikuchi. My name is Kikuchi from FastDOCTOR. FastDOCTOR. We're located in Tokyo, Kanagawa, Saitama, as well as in the Kansai area. We try to match doctors with those who are in need of medical service. 1/4 of elderly are living alone, and they are unable to go to hospitals. So they can receive online medical service at home. This is the kind of service that we provide. Thank you very much. Next. Could you please change the slide? Mr. Hosono, can you please introduce yourself? I come from JX Communications. I am Hosono. We are an IT venture, but as we're also a broadcasting company. It's a unique company. Our mission is to identify what is happening at the moment, so that we can build various businesses. And we are trying to promote this culture where we don't have to rely on human service. So we want to provide service as rapidly as possible in our business. So technology is extremely important to us. Thank you. Oh, I see. This is myself. Once again, my name is Iwamoto, and I'm the editor of Diamond Signal. I have been in various positions. For the past decade, I have been involved in the startup companies or looking at startup companies or tech-related company editor. In July, I became the editor, which deals with startups and so-called challengers in new ventures. I am responsible for editing this business magazine called Diamond Signal that caters to the ventures. Next, please. Mr. Nakamura from Authentic Japan. He is not part of this session originally, so we don't have his profile. Mr. Nakamura, can you please introduce yourself? Could you please release this screen? Can I ask the staff to release this screen? Okay, so everyone is introducing themselves briefly. I work for a company called Authentic Japan. My name is Nakamura. And instead of the person who was listed in the program, I am going to be participating. Do you hear me? Is the screen being shared? So what we do is to help people, help save lives in the mountains. And the name of the service is called Kokoheli. So we produce transmitters. So we have this network of transmitters and helicopters doctors. So when people are lost in the mountains, we try to save them. In the past, the police would have to rely on other types of ways to locate a life, but this transmitter will detect a life that is 16 kilometers from where that life is being lost. So about 3,000 people get lost in the mountains a year. Mr. Nakamura, can you please share your screen? I think I've been logged out from Zoom. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. In any case, what I'm saying is that we are targeting at mountain climbers and try to save lives who get lost. Well, let me touch on the details later as we go into the discussion. Thank you. I'm sorry if you couldn't hear him. From here on, so you are involved in protecting and saving human life. That is the kind of product or business you are involved in. So the topic is, of course, COVID-19. And there's a product called News Digest. It's an application for personal use. I understand that there are 517 people in Tokyo who tested positive. Of course, it's hard to talk about post-corona, but the impact of COVID, it's been about 10 months already since we started feeling the impact. So once again, looking back on the past 10 months since the end of January, can you please share with us what has been going on in terms of your business or your environment? How has the environment or your business changed as a result of COVID-19? I'm sure there are pros and cons, but may I ask each one of you maybe to share some positive stories, episodes. First, change. So after this emergency decree was announced, of course, we're saying that the third wave has come, but maybe if you can just share with us the positive episodes. May I ask Mr. Hosono from JX? So you did mention about the application of JX. Let me introduce you to our business. This B2C news application that is for free called News Digest. It's very informative and it's also targeted at the communities. The risk it's called fast alert, meaning risk information is given very quickly. So broadcasting or newspapers can obtain information regarding various alert information through our service, through our application. So this novel corona COVID-19, February is when this began to receive a lot of attention. Many of our clients have asked us to disseminate information. So that was a request that we began to disseminate. We tried to collect information regarding those who were infected or data that only we were able to collect. That is how we began the service. At the moment, we are connected with LINE and Yahoo and digital signage at train stations. These are places that we transmit the news to. So did you have this kind of thing in mind from the beginning? No, right? I mean, because of the needs from COVID-19, you came up with this kind of application or this service. Well, COVID-19, there's so much uncertainty. So in November, To be able to predict 1 month from to now or from 2 months from now, it's very difficult. So in February, we were totally in dark as far as what was going to happen in Japan. Going forward. So various needs began to manifest. So this business was started in only 1 week. Preparation. So the fact that there are needs or demands, that's from the existing customers, right? What about new customers or customers who weren't getting information from your company? Did you acquire new clients? Yes. Well, there were companies who were the majority of the companies were impacted negatively by COVID-19. So we tried to be proactive and try to provide solution that would meet the needs of these companies. That was our interpretation. So even to the new customers, we wanted them to utilize our system, our information. Can you describe what kind of attributes these your customers, the new customers, have? Well, the age group, gender group of people who are interested in COVID-19, I mean, you can categorize them. Housewives started to use our service more than in the past. This is just a presumption. Maybe a 50 woman in their 50, housewife who is in her 50s. She has her home, family, her parents live with her, and maybe she has a son, a daughter. So she has to take care of the youngsters as well as the older generation. So maybe that's why she becomes a bit more sensitive. That is just a presumption. So I want to go on to the next person.
So what about the negative aspects, bad news? Well, negative news, the number of users and also the number of consumers of information. With respect to COVID-19, they wanted to get correct information, accurate information as quickly as possible. So we saw quite a dramatic increase in the number of users. But on the other hand, in the pandemic, there are quite a few people who are concerned, worried. But the situation changes from moment to moment. Needs change, and the challenges that they're faced with also change. So we have to respond to them, and that's a difficulty that we are faced with as we try to do our business. Thank you. So, Kikuchi-san, how has your company changed in the pandemic? I've seen quite a lot of news about your company. Right, in the medical industry, nothing good has happened very much. But how have we been able to contribute to the society? That's what I'd like to discuss. In the first surge, we were quite confused, and it was very difficult to get emergency supplies. And also, at many medical institutions, they were not able to treat patients, and so there was a lot of burden on the emergency hospitals and university hospitals were in difficulty, and ambulances were in difficulty. So I think we are on the verge of collapse of medical services, and also we received lots of calls from the patients who wanted to get our service. And from the first surge, we provided online medical services, and also the sick call, and also PCR tests were also carried out. And we were supporting the patients who are trying to get over this at home. And so I think we made, although small, contribution. In terms of timing, from the time when we had a small number of the cases, and were there already needs for the self-inspection or the tests? Did you see changes in needs on the part of the users or patients? in terms of better improve the ease of getting tests. So we didn't carry out any PCR tests on our own, so we didn't see much change. I see, understood. What were difficulties? Everything must have been difficult for you in the medical industry, but at your company, what were some of the difficulties that you experienced? Well, we responded to changes. I think that was a big factor. And also, if I can talk about something else, well, it's very difficult to foresee what will happen. That causes a great deal of concern. And also, it's a small field. So in the online treatment, how regulations will change, no one knows. So although it's required, but how active should we make an investment for online treatment? It's very difficult to make such a judgment. Well, but it is accepted, right, to do online treatment as an exception, right? The initial diagnosis can be done online, but after the control of the corona, there's still discussion going on. But only for family doctors, the online diagnosis will be accepted for family doctor, but the definition of family doctor is still not clear. So there are issues. Now, at your company, as a startup, do you needs increasing? But of course, you have to be able to respond to such needs. Are there issues? Well, as I said before, the number of calls are increasing, so I think we see an increase in our services provided. But then when it comes to online treatment and the sick call, with respect to online diagnosis, we have regulations. That's an issue. As for sick call, although there are regulations, but we are operating within regulations, and that's a growing industry. But sick call is not a panacea. Well, maybe just a consultation can do, or in an emergency case, maybe we should we provide them with 119, 911, or anyway, there is a growth in the number of services. Well, frankly speaking, with or without COVID-19, do you think the growth trend would change? No, I don't think so. Because across Japan, the number of people who are going to medical institutions has been declining. The same for us, because people are more conscious about sanitation. So, flu, I think there's going to be a very small number of flu patients. So in terms of, the infection of infectious diseases, there should be a decrease this year. But when it comes to other, patients, the same. But at this time of the year, we should see an increase in flu. So I think, overall, we see a decrease in the number of patients suffering from infectious diseases. Well, the flu patients have declined 90% in a year. So, the countermeasures against flu is the same as the countermeasures against COVID-19, right? Well, some people say that because of a small number of tests, we don't have so many patients. But we are actually carrying out flu tests, but still we don't have many flu patients. So I really think that we only have a small number of flu patients. I see. Thank you. Nakamura-san, is it okay with you? Oh, sorry. That's good. As I heard the conversation, we are not directly involved in the COVID-19 related business. but we just heard negative aspects and positive aspects about COVID-19 related business. Well, but today what I was going to hear from you was, well, personally, I have heard about your story. I have interviewed or did the investigation research about your company. And in terms of the pandemic, were you affected greatly? Well, maybe there's less and less people who climb mountains. Right after April this year, the mountain huts are closed. And just like the restaurant and dining industry, well, there's less people who go out, and so there's less climbers. So we have been damaged this year. I see. So the situation is still continuing at mountains. We see some trend for recovery, but year on year, well, people are restraining from going to mountains. As I said before, I heard about Kokoheli, and so I would like to learn from you what your company has been like after the onset of COVID-19. You said that you have been damaged, but recently, in recent months, what is the situation of company? You started talking about your products. So once again, please let us know what you have been doing. Right, I just began talking about it, but from 2016, we have been releasing products. Oh, do you see the screen? Oh, great. Yes, we see the screen. That's great. Right, so I wonder if I can operate it. Well, if you just tell us, I think we can move on to the next slide. So if you can just say next or something. Yes. Okay, yes, I can operate it. Sorry about this oversight. Once again, we have been targeting the people in accidenting mountains. Per year, about 3,000 people who face an accident in mountains when they are climbing mountains. And in terms of identification location, the police and other authorities try to locate them by eyesight. And we have a Kokoheli. This is a transmitter. It's very light and small, and so you can put it in the rucksack when you climb mountains. And if you are in an accident, from 16 kilometers, you can be located from a helicopter. So we can identify where you are. Within 1 or 2 hours, we can locate yourself. So the police and firefighting authorities can reduce the amount of time required to locate you. So that's the kind of transmitter we have developed and have provided. And as I said before, this is the membership card. That's a transmitter. So this is a membership business. If you are a member, you can get this membership card. And also the helicopter that has a receiver that receives signals coming from the transmitter. So the transmitter is made in Japan. And the receiver, these are the commercial aircraft companies, and also police and fire and authorities, they have receivers. And so the Kokoheli members who have a transmitter can be located. That's the kind of services that we have been providing. And because of the COVID-19, pre-COVID-19, of course, there were lots of mountain climbers, and we have been accumulating our track record. And so the number of members has been increasing. And there's about 3 million people who climb mountains over 3 times a year. And so our membership is 30,000, and this is a growing number. So we have been seeing increasing number of members. And after COVID-19 started, this is not a positive aspect, but other than the mountain climbers, we would like to provide services to other people during the COVID pandemic. So natural disaster, Well, we were thinking about it, but we wanted to expand our target. So from mountains to towns, we are now providing a Kokoheli town services.
So this is what we decided during this time. So in the past, we were always communicating with the police and the fire department. So during natural disasters like earthquakes and typhoons, we can locate the position of those who are lost using the transmitters. That's a positive aspect of our service. So a fire department as well as the Maritime Safety Agency, they are using the receivers so that they can do the search and rescue operation. Now, disasters, natural disasters that related to water disasters, together with life jackets, we can provide this service or this transmitter and the receivers, even to the municipalities. So before COVID-19, it was only targeted at mountains, but now we are shifting to the towns as well. That is what happened since COVID-19. Okay, thank you very much. Has this started already, Kokoheli town? Not really. But we are ready to provide this service. So I think it's more about natural disasters rather than COVID-19. So you said you are communicating with the Maritime Safety Agency, but and some other municipal governments. But is this? Are you covering only Fukuoka City or a certain area in Japan? It is targeted at all police and fire departments nationwide, so it's not targeted at a specific region. But as far as the Maritime Safety Agency is concerned, it's Hokkaido and Kyushu at the moment. And also, this plan about disaster relief, will use the same transmitter? Yes, this device can locate the person up to 16 kilometers from the helicopter, but maybe we can, it's called a life beacon. It's a smaller terminal or device that you can, that they will locate by using wireless service. Life beacon uses Bluetooth. That is in the smartphones. We are developing devices using that kind of smaller life beacon wireless service. I see. Thank you very much. I am very interested in this topic. Now, next question that I want to ask is, so I'm sure your environment has changed, even here in the media, in mass media. Well, I was talking to some people over Zoom. It's very difficult to make interviews. It's very difficult to engage in dialogue. So COVID-19, we are now experiencing the third wave, or are we going to be able to prevent that? Of course, you touched on this topic earlier. What are some of the challenges that you are facing at the moment? So, I mean, if you were to accept COVID-19 as something positive to develop a new business, I'm sure there are restrictions and laws, legal issues that need to be resolved in order to come up with your breakthrough. But what are some of the bottlenecks that you are facing at the moment? So, Mr. Nakamura, can we start with Mr. Nakamura? If you have any opinion on this point, Fukuoka City, Mr. Takashima, the mayor, I think is exhibiting his, demonstrating his leadership in this area. But if there are any challenges or something that is unique to the city of Fukuoka, or if you already have being able to come up with some solutions. Well, okay, we are trying to start this disaster prevention business by focusing on the towns. And so when you ask people, do they have these disaster prevention gadgets, things? And no, that's not, they don't have that. So maybe they need to be able to use that particular device or for something else rather than natural disaster. This Kokoheli transmitter, for example, if you get lost, of course it's very useful. But as I said, it has Bluetooth built in. So if you have your key with your smartphone, you can, if you lose your key, you can locate your key. So this is a daily use of this transmitter. So rather than disaster prevention alone, I think the psychology is to be able to use the device for something closer to daily life. A COCOA application, maybe that needs to introduce some game function. Then 20 million people may download that application. Yes, everyone understands that this COCOA application is very useful. That's the tracking of COVID patients. Of course, 20 million, yes, that's phenomenal. But I think going beyond that, well, this transmitter, if you can put it on your purse or your bag, it's useful for mountain climbers. But where can you buy this transmitter? Only through your website? Yes, basically from our website. Thank you. We touched a little bit on regulations. Mr. Kikuchi, Dr. Kikuchi, what are some of the obstacles or challenges you are facing at the moment? Yes, I think I spoke about the online medical service. It's a repetition of what I said. So first-time visitors, whether they can receive online medical service or not, or what is the definition of a family or home doctor, these things have not been decided yet. That's one of the challenges. And also, the motivation of the medical people who are providing medical service. I mean, the efficiency is not very good. I mean, so I think we cannot provide information by this for people who are unable to hear or see. So it's very inefficient. And also the payment system, medical payment or reimbursement is not very good. So that kind of problem needs to be resolved. We need a breakthrough in that area. On the other hand, for the patients, it's very advantageous. If you want to go to a university hospital, you have to spend half a day. But you can shorten that to half an hour. So each citizen's productivity is going to go up. So I'm just hoping that this Android AI type of service will improve. Well, what about the burden on the doctors? Is it going to be decreased as a result of the introduction of this service? Well, it's unknown. Well, outpatients, yes. I don't think there's much of an advantage as far as outpatients are concerned. But if you can do online medical service and the patients can stay at home, then of course you can reduce the burden on the medical service providers. But the elderly people may not have much knowledge about these new gadgets and devices. So I don't know about the compatibility with the elderly people. I mean, you have to start the application on your smartphone. That might be a little difficult for the elderly. Who are the main users of your service currently? Well, we have a broad usage from pediatrics to elderly, geriatrics, but the majority are adults, then the elderly, geriatrics, and then pediatrics. So online service is basically geared or targeted at adults. So the literacy, IT literacy, is what was the key. Is that how you reached people who are most literate in IT? Well, yes, when you introduce a new service, you have to target at people who are well-versed in that particular technology. And as far as the elderly are concerned, they learn about these new services from television, from newspapers, etc. Now, pediatrics, meaning the parents are younger generation, so you might target the businessmen who have small children. I see. In the future, this remote medical service for the elderly, it's not going to be so difficult, right? As long as the environment is properly prepared. Yes. Maybe in 20 years' time, it'll change. But at the moment, I think it's still difficult for the elderly. If we have a universal system, well, I'm sure all businesses are now introducing universal service. So whatever that will be kind to the elderly will also become popular. Mr. Hosono, I have the same question. So what are some of the bottlenecks that you are facing at the moment? So we are disseminating information. That's what we do to the government, to the municipal governments, and etc. Well, so it's important that information should not be limited in these government agencies. I think it's important to disseminate correct and proper information nationwide, but it's important that we have the correct data, because if we don't, then that will be detrimental to the whole society. I mean, some people are even today saying that COVID-19 is a common cold. I mean, if you look at the Twitter of some people, they're so optimistic. They say, even if you do have a COVID-19, I don't have any symptoms, or in Iwate Prefecture, I mean, they have these wrong ideas, wrong information, fake information. So the more there are these unclear information, this first-hand data needs to be accurate, and it has to be disseminated properly. And it needs to be disseminated in a way that is understandable to as many people as possible. I think that makes society and our communities happier. I mean, people talk about conspiracy, etc., but that's something that you cannot get involved in personally. Even the so-called celebrities, or they get deceived. You know, let's forget about 5G, but if someone says that COVID-19 is a common cold, I'm sure majority of the people will say that's very stupid. But there are people who believe in these conspiracy theories, and that's increasing. So I think it's important that the government disseminates correct and proper information.
ね、ライフっていう部分。
So this is not a main theme for us today, but if people accept well the information that they like instead of facts, like the presidential election that generated Trump. Anyway, so in this respect, I'm involved in the media, and when it comes to primary information, how to get it is very important for me. So the authorities, the governments should disseminate more accurate information. But that's not the case. The disclosed data, well, at your company, in my understanding, you get disclosed information and sort them out and process it and disseminate it process it, so for example, into charts and so on, and disseminate such information. I think that's your mission, right? In this respect, is such information lacking, or because of the COVID-19 at an early stage, the data about the people who have been infected? Well, do you think there's such a shortage of such data? We see ups and downs in the number of such information. Before, the government used to provide us with information about individuals, say when these people contracted the virus, but they stopped doing that, about the information about individual patients. So we do have data about the ages, but what about the mild cases or the intermediate cases? We don't have any such information anymore. And Tokyo didn't used to do it, but they think it's important. So they now provide us with more detailed information. But different governments have different policies for disclosure. And so I think people in the media have difficulty, and also the general citizens can't really check what is the situation. It's very difficult. Then, as an IT company, well, perhaps is lobbying done, or are you taking any action? Is that required? Yes, we have to make such a claim. We have to demand that. But in reality, in terms of cost or the human resources required to that, well, the number of cases is increasing, and we just have to accept what comes to us. And we have to look at cost, and also information. We would like to achieve both. And yes, we would like to certainly request such information. Well, I didn't really know that there's such a change in the data provided in terms of categorization and so on. So you are in difficulty in getting such information. That's a bottleneck, isn't it? Right. Okay, understood. So I asked you 3 questions, and now we have to end this at 3:50 p.m. So we have to close this within 6 minutes. And I wonder if we can already discuss the post-COVID-19 situation. But of course, we have to also talk about how to respond to the third surge. So under the pandemic, the vaccine is tested these days in the United States. So we have to live with the COVID-19 right now. And so what are you going to do? What is your mission? What is your aspiration? Or do you have any specific plan, what you want to do? So this has to do with our life. What is the progress of your products that enhance the quality of our lives? So starting with Mr. Kikuchi, Could you talk about it? What has been happening recently and what are going to do after the coronavirus has come under control? What is your wish? Well, I will be brief in the interest of time. So I would like to keep the faith, and I would like to address the changes, and I would like to just respond to the needs that is required by the times. Of course, we would like to create a future where people can have an easy access to medical services. We would like to continue to make contributions to the local or regional medical services. Thank you. Mr. Nakamura, next. In terms of the pandemic, of course, we have to restrict ourselves in terms of outing. But when it comes to mountain climbing, we see more demand for outdoors. So we would like to continue to address that segment. And in addition, as I said before, the natural disaster, irrespective of COVID-19, will happen, continue to happen. So we would like to address that. And so when we are hit by COVID-19 and natural disaster, we would like to contribute to the society by providing our services. Okay, thank you. So lastly, Mr. Hosono, Dr. Hosono. Right. Basically, we are a media-related company, so the necessary information in the necessary format should be provided to the people who need it. Well, this is very important for the society, and also as a startup, we have to draw up a scheme and turn that into a business. That is what is required of us. So not just dissemination information, but more specifically, the news as services, or the information that is directly useful for life. These should be our mainstay. And I would like to turn the societal issues into our business. We'd like to do our business steadfastly. Thank you. Great. We are in the media business, so these are the issues that we have to think about. And also, like your companies, we would like to take on challenges which are new, and in connection with today's theme, we would like to provide information about people who are safeguarding our lives. So we still have 2 more minutes, but maybe we should close this session because we are at the right timing. Now, staff people, there's going to be exchanges, services. Maybe will be linked to exchange service. Can we just close this? Could anyone respond? Okay, yes, we want to hear more from you, but after this, there's going to be a networking space where we'd like to continue this conversation. Thank you. So the panelists, thank you. So in the networking space, the panelists, you can participate in the networking, and there's an URL on the screen. Please make an access to the network page.